Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me Mark Kohl, and we just started talking a few minutes ago, and we're definitely connected. I'm like, I kind of want to focus on, like, I have this long description of your amazingness and your energy, and I only have a short period of time because you have so many other things to do. So I'm going to go fast with the introduction.
Okay.
I already know you're a remarkable individual.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the beginning of it. But I want to talk about the personal struggle and your transition from one state of being into another, and more into the being the well, I use the phrase Christ consciousness, but like that expanded sense of self that you are, and how that journey unfolded for you. Because I can feel how deep you are, how beautiful your soul is, and I just want to talk about that some. So thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, tell me a little bit about your journey.
Well, we must have a really amazing Wi-Fi connection if you can feel all of that stuff.
Well, I'm very intuitive and I can feel
Very
I'm very
intuitive.
heart-based. So
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, it's obviously a big story. I'll,
right.
I'll try to give you the elevator version of it. Um, I started years ago as a teenager as a rock and roll guitar player. I played in bands a long time ago. I thought that was super cool, and then I found out it wasn't super cool. I couldn't really deal with musicians much, and I just wanted to be in the creative world. And then around age 19 or 20, this is in Florida. I grew up in Chicago, but I had moved to Jacksonville, Florida, on my 16th birthday, actually. And I had a guitar. I had been playing guitar for a while, and like I said, I fell into the music scene, which was really big in Jacksonville back then. There was a southern rock stuff going on with Leonard Skinner and whatnot. I was a little younger than all of that, but it was quite the scene. But one of the guys that worked as a roadie or mixing guy or whatever, he worked at a film company, and I had always been interested in photography and whatever. And he got me a job at a production company. So I was like, that was sounded really cool. This is way before. This is cable television that just started coming
Okay.
out, and VCRs. So it was literally kind of like analogous to like the birth of the internet. It was really cool.
Mhm.
Things exploded. I was right in the beginning of that. Um, at the company I worked at had home video stuff, equipment, and whatnot, but it also had broadcast equipment. So I was drawn to the broadcast component, and they
Mhm.
had a bunch of equipment sitting around, and they really weren't doing much with it. So, and it was very expensive and very difficult to use, but I was drawn to that. And I remember, picking up, super expensive camera because I had them. Nobody else really had them around, and I figured out how to use them. And I started kind of teaching myself how to, start to make little commercials here and there. Corporate videos was really big. That was new. Marketing films. And we were sort of the epicenter of that in the area I was in because we were one of the few people that had this equipment available.
Okay.
So one thing I am is a really hard worker. I guess somewhat of a fast learner. So after I started getting pretty decent at that, I developed a lot of clients, and I took off and started my own production company at I think like 21 or 22 years old,
Okay.
and I was off to the races. I still have that company today.
Cool.
Jacksonville at the time was sort of also an epicenter of a lot of LA productions coming into town because locations were cheap. There was a
Mhm.
lot of incentives financially. So I fell into that world because I became one of the better camera operators, and I was still had a production company. And so I started working on shows like America's Most Wanted. I started shooting back then what was really popular, these movies of the week. All of these films were done. I mean, all of these projects were shot on film. So I learned how to shoot 16. I learned how to shoot 35 motion pictures. The
Mhm.
directors that were coming through at the time, all lived out of LA. They liked my work ethic. They thought I was skilled and talented. So they started hiring me to come out west and start playing with the big boys. And I realized I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing at all. So I started
Mhm,
really learning from extremely skilled directors as a cinematographer,
mhm,
and one in particular was Aaron Spelling.
mhm.
Anyway, he's kind of faded in the background, but at the time he was the biggest television producer ever.
Right,
So
right.
I was his youngest cinematographer at 33. I
Cool.
did some, episodic television shows for him. I went on to shoot over 150 episodes of America's Most Wanted, the little recreation films that were like mini movies. Those directors went on to become their careers soared, and they took me with them. And I shot a whole bunch of kind of B movies, and then some just different sorts of narrative. I fell really into the narrative along the way. I spread my skill set through documentary filmmaking, and then thousands of commercials. I became a pretty big force in the state of Florida at a young age. Won lots of awards, and by the time I was in my 30s, I was somewhat of a force of nature in Florida, and I
Mhm,
held that position, and it grew until in for another at least 20 years or so. And then, I was on the road 150 days a year. I had one of the biggest production companies. I owned a rental house. And this is the 90s. And I started falling into alcoholism. Alcohol was very, very prevalent. It was
mhm.
almost like it wasn't just accepted, it was like normal. Like we would every time we wrapped a job, we would, kind of turn the food table, the craft service table around and make a bar out of it. So everybody drank at the end of every job, and because it was high stress.
Right,
And
right.
then we played hard and partied hard. So about 10 years of that started catching up with me, like
Mhm,
they say in the program. It started off as fun, and then was fun with problems, and then it was just kind of problems, right?
mm, mhm.
So I started having to, I was waking up shaky. I was always hungover. I was always working with well-known people in really fascinating places. It was always very exciting. I'm a Gemini, so I love just, different things every day.
Mhm,
Never really bored or anything. But, looking back, I realized, we have this core identity of who we think we are, right? So
mm,
I didn't know
mhm,
really much about any spirituality. I mean, I always had very high integrity. I was
mhm,
brought up Lutheran out of Chicago, very strict, very similar to Catholic, just,
mhm,
lots of rules, lots of commandments, lots of, that kind of stuff. So I knew right from wrong. I was known for my ethics. I was known for my fairness. I was always known. I never, screwed anybody over. I always worked really hard to make things right if I had made an error. So I had a really good reputation, which I was proud of, as far as, not just the skill of creating film, but also the ethics of running a company. That's why it lasted so long, because
mhm.
there's a lot of charlatans and fake sort of stuff going on in the, entertainment world. So
Yeah.
but anyway, I lived alone. I started making a lot of money. I had, boats and cars and girls and properties, and but I was miserable. I was really miserable,
Mhm,
and I didn't really know why. But I started understanding why, because of what I had done, which is a mistake. I had attached my core identity to my profession. And this is something very
mhm.
common that we do subconsciously in America, especially, a capitalist society. I was a young, driven, handsome director. So when work was good, I was good. And when work
Right.
suffered through recessions or whatever, and I wasn't working, I didn't know what to do with myself. My purpose wasn't being fulfilled, and
Mhm.
I became a mess, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was just starting to get gigs just to shoot them, to unconsciously, again at this point, validate my core identity of what
Mhm.
I thought I was, which was a director. Well,
Right.
directing and shooting is what I do for a living. It's not who I am as a
Mhm.
man, as my
Yeah,
soul, right?
yeah.
Of course, I didn't know all of that, but And it's also a very stressful job because, our jobs are 2 or 3 days unless they're a show. Most
Mhm.
of the stuff I was doing at the time was commercials. So every time we wrapped a job, I was out of work, right?
Mhm.
So I would go from these very fast-paced, high intense, you know, expensive gigs to next day sitting on my couch watching TV. And I know like what do I do now? Right.
Right,
So
right.
I started, drinking during the day. I started meeting people for lunch, drinking, and it was just and in the area I was living in Florida was, that's kind of what it was. It was really hot. It was Florida. You drank on your boat, you drank at lunch, you went to the beach with the beer, it was just that kind of thing. So it started catching
Mhm.
up with me. Um, I knew I had a problem, unlike lots of people who kind of denied it for a while. But I was well aware that it became something that it went from. I remember it went from wanting to drink to having to drink
Mm.
because I would become so depressed and so shaky and so anxious the
Yeah.
next morning with the hangovers or whatever that I had to drink, have a drink in me or so to feel normal, to
Mhm.
stop shaking, to get rid of the anxiety, and it worked, So anyway, now I'm dependent on it, right?
Right.
So for about 10 years, I struggled very difficultly. I had a couple DUIs. They took my license away. I had to go through AA. Now I'm trapped in my house. I really legally can't go to the grocery store. I lived alone. It was really rough. And I just really, I tried every Western modality I could find to
Mhm.
stop drinking. And I had a little bit of money, so I was doing all these shots. I was doing all these advanced techniques, but I just wouldn't really stop it. I just really couldn't stop it. And I was a really
Mhm.
strong soldier. I was known for my mental strength. I was known for, I was a general with an army, and here I couldn't stop drinking, and everybody was like, "Well, just don't drink." But that's not how it is. It really,
Right, right.
drinking was the medicine.
Mhm.
I realize now I didn't have a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem,
Mm.
right? Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Right.
So it wasn't, like my fault or anything. But again, I'm following the leads of doctors. I'm following the leads of AA. I'm following the leads of all this stuff. But so, where I was mentioning, and this is my perception of it, but I've been, I haven't had a drink in over 10 years, and I have a pretty good grasp of kind of now knowing what was going on. But this story that I was telling myself of my core identity as a director now had shifted into my identity as a middle-aged, washed up alcoholic director,
Right,
right?
right,
Because that's what people were telling me. Because I was
right.
foggy, I wasn't showing up clear-headed. I was oh
Mhm.
my god, the struggles, man. Like, I guess I am a soldier, but some of the things, pushing through some of these massive shoots that are so difficult in the blazing heat, 4 in the morning after, been up all night drinking, your sweat.
Mm.
I mean, it was just
Yeah.
torture.
Yeah.
And it was just a torturous 10 years. And again, I would go a month or two without alcohol. I would, but when I would remove the medicine, the alcohol, it actually made everything worse because now
Mm.
I'm having to deal with whatever issue, plus the
Right.
physical withdrawals. Now the numbing agent was removed, right? So you have to
Mhm.
get to the essence of why am I drinking, right?
Right.
So I really couldn't really figure that out because
Mhm.
so anyway, it just kept. I would go up and down, and I was always afraid. Am I going to drink? Am I not going to drink? Every single day of my life, I'm running around. Don't drink. Don't drink. I mean, it was horrible. It was just absolutely horrible because I was white knuckling everything. I couldn't have a relationship because I didn't even know I wasn't stable. I couldn't have
Right.
any. I had like no future plans because I wouldn't know if I was going to be drunk or not. I mean, it was a nightmare, man. So
Yeah.
10 years ago, right now, actually, this week, I was dying. I had been in
Wow.
4 or 5 rehabs, real rehabs. And I
Mhm.
had been in the hospital 8 or 9 times going through alcohol withdrawals and alcohol poisoning.
Mhm.
And I had done it many times on my own. But um, yeah, right now, 10 years ago, 2014, first week of June, I was laying in my, I had shown up to a job drunk a couple months before, and I had never done that, like really drunk where I couldn't even walk.
Oh, wow.
And they fired me, which was the first time. Well, of course they should have. First time in my life I'd ever been really fired.
Mm.
Anyway, I was in Texas, and I hadn't been drinking for a month. And when I got there, somebody enticed me to drink, and I went with it, and I was right back on. I like drank my mini bar in my hotel room, and it was an absolute nightmare. Anyway, I showed up the next morning like totally wasted, and they fired me, and they just kind of cut me. So I had to figure out how to get home.
Wow.
And to this day, I don't even know. It took me like 4 days to get home. I don't know how I got home. I don't know what airline I took. I had a connecting flight. I missed my connecting flight. I don't even remember what city it was in. I
Wow.
stayed in a hotel somewhere at that city till I could sober up and figure out how to get home. My bags were waiting on me. It was a nightmare. Anyway, I had a one-room studio apartment in Venice Beach that I ended up in. Don't remember how I got there for about 3 months and just shut my phone off because my phone was blowing up. Everybody was, my career was destroyed. My kids weren't talking to me. Nobody was talking to me but bill collectors. And so I basically shut my phone off, and I went on like a 2 or 3 month drinking binge. I don't remember it. I didn't really eat much. I shut the blinds. I remember I would get up at, you know, 5 in the morning, shaking so bad I would stumble down to Davy's Liquor Locker in Venice Beach. It opened at 7, and I would be the first guy there every day, buying
Wow.
a small bottle of vodka, drinking it out of a paper bag to just calm my nerves. And I was like,
Ooh.
how in the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
So anyway, one day I I got paralysis. I don't know when it was. I mean, I knew it was right around now. I remember I was laying in bed and I couldn't move. I started hallucinating. And I remember those were the signs of dying from alcoholism. I started hearing things. I started kind of going crazy. And I was like, "This is it. This is it. This is, this. I'm dying." And of course, I hear about it all the time, especially in our business. People always ODing or dying, and alone.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I I remember there was a voice. I didn't want to try it again because I tried it so many times, but there was a little voice in me that said, "Well, just try it one more time." I was like, "Man, no way. I'm just exhausted. I don't have any money. I can't." Just one more time, one more time. So I picked up the phone, I called a friend and I said, "Will you find me rehab?" I couldn't remember, I couldn't even see the phone. I was so blurry.
Wow.
Anyway, she came and got me, took me to a rehab in Malibu, and they wouldn't take me because I was in such bad shape. And I had to go back to the hospital. And that my birthday is June 6th, which is actually Thursday. And I spent my birthday in the hospital in the detox unit, strapped down to a bed. They strap you
Wow.
down because if you're shaking, they're afraid you're gonna. Alcohol detox is the most dangerous drug to detox from because you can have seizures.
Oh, wow.
They let me out June 8th, and I staggered into the rehab, and I never looked back. So the you know, I just said to myself, I'm never coming back here, man. Never. It
Mm.
was so humiliating, but I couldn't afford it. I had to put it on my last credit card. But, um, one of my goals had always been to get to Los Angeles full time because I knew it had a much higher consciousness of spirituality here. I knew
Mhm.
that it wasn't the film business. I realized that no, there's a higher level of intelligence. There's a lot of people that are healers. There's also a lot of people struggling. So I
Mhm.
got into the AA program here, which was very different than the one in Florida.
Mhm.
I was sitting next to movie stars and big players in technology and very creative, intelligent people, and I was like, okay, I'm not alone. At the time, I think there was 3,000 AA meetings a day in Los Angeles County or something.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
crazy. So there, anyway, it made me. So I started hanging around those folks, which you have to change everything if you're going to
Mhm.
change. You can't. What is the saying? A man cannot be healed if he goes back to the same environment in which made him sick, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I
Mhm.
had kept doing before. Then you're
Yeah.
just white knuckling it because you're going right back to your drinking buddies. You're going right
Right,
back
right.
to people that are unaware. So this time it was different, and I discovered through my sponsor, who was a very wise man. Thank God he helped save me. I really did the program, and then I discovered Kundalini Yoga, which is a very advanced
Mm.
ancient study of the mind, the spirit, the body, how it's all connected. And it's not really available everywhere, but it just so happened that I landed at one of the most powerful studios in the world in Venice,
Mhm.
California. And I was going twice a day, and I eventually became a teacher under the guidance of some of the best gurus in the nation. So I
Mm.
was so fortunate; it was right there, and I dove into that. I was going to a couple meetings a day. I started hanging around really smart people, and throughout that, about a year into that, I discovered ayahuasca, and that was almost 10 years ago, or nine and a half. And that was very, very underground then. It was very kind of unheard of. And
Mhm.
I did my first ayahuasca ceremony, and then that combined with my spiritual practice, it literally took everything I thought was real and shattered it. And I
Mm.
saw the magic and beauty of life. For the
Mhm.
first time in my life, I felt the most
Mhm.
joyful, happiness that I've and relief. Like everything was lifted. All my shame, all my depression was like evaporated. And I came out probably looking 10 years younger. I felt I've never felt anything like it. It was the most beautiful experience. And I remember I said to the shaman, I said, how can this be illegal? Like if everybody did this ancient medicine, we would, which we've done, by the way, since the beginning of man. It's been hidden the
Right.
last, millennium or whatever, but it's been here. I
Mhm.
said everybody would be happy. There would be no, whatever, divorces, wars, whatever. And he looked at me and he said, because happy people don't buy anything. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's just a nugget of why it's illegal. But he's
Yeah.
talking to a guy that's made over 3,500 commercials, and I was like,
Right.
you are correct. You are correct. Because when I'm making a commercial, I'm
Yeah.
trying to create a sense of lack in you,
Mhm.
that you need something you don't need to buy with money you don't have, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that's the programming we're taught.
Yeah.
So the soldier that I am, I'm full-time AA, double full-time Kundalini, and triple full-time ayahuasca. I'm going to as many
Mm.
ceremonies as I can. I'm
Wow.
finding shamans all over the place, try different, ways, medicines,
Mhm.
uh, all this, combining it with, now I'm discovering breath work. Now I'm discovering, all these daily practices. I've really stayed on it. And it's
Mhm.
very important to the viewer that they know that these psychedelic journeys they are very, very powerful. But the most crucial part is the integration part, that you get back and you
Mhm.
reprogram, rewire the
Mhm.
neural pathways of the mind into a new way of thinking. Otherwise, you will
Yeah.
slide right back
Oh,
into your
yeah,
addiction or your
definitely.
depression. But at least it gives
Mhm.
you a shot, right? I never got a
Right.
shot with, regular therapy. It never
Yeah.
cracked the egg. And the longer we've been thinking these thoughts of depression and whatever, those are habits, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's an old saying, watch your thoughts. Thoughts become habits. Habits become your destiny, right?
Mhm.
So, as Joe Dispenza says, nerve cells that wire together, or that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. Meaning, if you
Mhm.
stop the old behaviors long enough, that your neural pathways, which is what we call a habit,
Mhm.
disconnect, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So a habit is, when the neural pathways are connected to the subconscious, which is part of the physical body.
Right.
Like if you're learning how to ride a bike, you have to do it over and over again until the neural pathways build a solid communication to the body
Mhm.
to do it a certain way, and then your subconscious mind rides the bike.
Mhm.
Your subconscious mind drives your car, right?
Right.
Because that's a habit. Well,
Right.
worry, anxiety, alcoholism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are also habits,
Mhm.
right? So that's
Mhm.
why we wake up in panic. That's why we wake up
Right.
in worry, right?
Mhm.
Because we've done it so long, they're very thick wires of neuroplasticity,
Yep.
that you have to break.
Oh, yeah.
So the good news is, with these psychedelic medicines, they break them for a moment, and it gives you a
Mhm.
shot to
Yeah.
rewire them, right?
Right.
So I went into, I don't know, over the few years, and I had millions and millions of stories. I won't, or thousands of stories. I won't bore you with you now, but I did it over and over and over again, and stayed on my new life hard, and
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
that's what changes, right? So um, when people ask me how did I change my life, I realize now what I did is I changed my story,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
story that we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So when I was drinking, like I said earlier, my story was I was a washed up, middle aged alcoholic director,
Mhm.
right? Unknowingly. So no matter how many meetings I went to, no matter how many therapy sessions I went to, the ego of the mind is very, very sneaky. It's conniving, right?
Mhm.
It's cunning,
Mhm.
it's baffling, as they say.
Yeah.
So it will look for ways for you to consistently validate your story. So
Mhm.
if your story is saying you're an alcoholic and you're unlovable and you're a failure, it will do that. You will always
Mhm.
pick up a drink. You will always sabotage a relationship. You will
Mhm.
always become unlovable
Yep.
because it wants to be right. That's part of the ego, right?
Mhm.
No matter
Yep.
what, it wants to
Yep.
be right, and it will prove itself right. See, you are unlovable. See, you are
Yeah.
powerless. You are an alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
So obviously now, and again, I didn't realize this till years later, my story is completely different, right? So now I validate that subconsciously every day. I
Mhm.
have power. This is one of the issues I have with Alcoholics Anonymous. I think the program is amazing, but
Mhm.
the first two, steps are I'm an alcoholic and I'm powerless. Okay,
Ooh.
right,
Ooh.
right. The rest of it is beautiful, but
Yeah.
I do not say those words out loud because I am not an alcoholic. I mean, it took
Yeah.
me, it takes a couple years for you to completely get the substance out of the body, the system. It takes
Mhm.
years for you to rewire your nervous system healthy. Your
Mhm.
brain path, all everything takes a while. But once you
Yeah.
get past that hump, I mean, I will never test it. I will never pick up a drink to test it
Right.
because
Right.
I don't need to do that. It's
Right.
ridiculous to me. But what my point is, you do become what you think. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
so these things, if we have a problem and we continually think about the problem, this is sort of obvious, but we do it, you will live in the problem, right?
Mhm.
And what I
Mhm.
think we all can agree that we give power to our thoughts, and that is
Right.
a survival mechanism of the brain, right? We got a problem, okay, let's fix it. But if we focus on the problem, you will create more problems. So
Mhm.
you start to focus on options of solutions,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yep.
mean, I do this in shows. Like all we do is get problems. You do a show that's got 300 crew members on it, which I did recently, and there's going to be hundreds of problems every
Right, right,
day.
right.
And
Right.
I'm like, okay, I got it. I got the problem. Like when you were earlier, you were saying, I got it. Your sister, or whatever, is talking to you.
Yeah.
I got it. I got it.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's talk about solutions,
Mhm.
right? So now we're
Right.
giving power to the solution, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, through these psychedelics, I can not only see solutions, um, we're creating. Okay, so in this journey, I was living in a 300 square foot one room apartment, or not even an apartment, and I knew I had to get out of there because I was going
Right.
to probably drink again. My environment was the scene of the crime.
Right, right, right.
So through crazy ayahuasca stuff, it showed me, um, or I became aware enough of how to make that happen.
Mhm.
So now I have a 2 acre house in Topanga. I have a home in Palm Springs, and you're talking to a guy who had no job, anything. Nobody was talking to me. Now I have hundreds of friends, right? And
Mhm.
they're all solid spiritual people, right? And now that's my crowd. And 6 years ago, it was shown to me to start. I was growing psychedelic mushrooms for my own use, to keep
Mhm.
me on track,
Mhm.
because the mind will start, just it's sneaky. It'll start
Yeah.
convincing you
Yep.
to go back to the matrix.
Mhm.
So anyway, I started self-taught, learned how to grow mushrooms, failed miserably over and over and over again.
They're fussy.
Um, OMG, yeah, you have no idea. I mean, way before people were doing it, like way before, like
Right.
now it's accessible. We were way, way, way. So I shut it down many, many times, and then I had a random ayahuasca journey. I had stopped doing them for a while, and I had a random one. I was helping a guy out with the ceremony at my house, and I drank a little working dose of the medicine, and I went into this journey again, not expecting to.
Mhm.
And people have done ayahuasca. We talk about the mother. We talk about the mother ayahuasca. It's the healing. It's feminine.
Yeah,
It's Mother
yeah,
Earth. It's,
yeah.
it's Gaia, whatever it is, but it guides you. And she said to me, hey there, we've been looking for you. You've been avoiding us. And I went, oh no, here it comes. I'm gonna get my ass kicked, which has happened. Because it shows you truth, and
Right, right,
that's where the healing is, and it's not always pleasant.
right. Usually it isn't.
That's a whole nother
Usually
conversation.
finding truth isn't pleasant, but it's really healthy.
Well, you can't lie to the universe.
Right, right.
And if you're lying to the universe, your life is always going to struggle, because you're
Mhm.
definitely not in flow.
Right,
Once you find your truth, and it might hurt for a little bit, but at least you know why you're here,
right, right.
right? Right. So
Yep.
actually, this is part of that conversation. Here I am, COVID, or here I am chasing film business, trying to rebuild my career that I destroyed, and I
Mhm.
finally got a movie, and I finally got a TV show lined up, and finally I was going to be able to make the house payment, but I was going to be on the road for a year, whatever. Anyway, I had shut the mushrooms down for the, I don't know, seventh or eighth time, with
Mhm.
contamination, people stealing from me, whatever. And anyway, I get in this journey, and the mother says, "Hey, you know the mushrooms?" And I went, "Uh huh." And she goes, "Yeah, you're getting back in it." And I went, no way, no way, no way. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I've all my money's gone that I had, illegal, and I'm just, no, 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 no. She says, "You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Doing it wrong." She said, the mushrooms want you to do everything. And I had been hiring scientists and mycologists to help with genetics and stuff.
Mm.
It's difficult, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So she goes, "You need to do everything. You need to learn everything. The mushrooms want you. This 10 years of alcoholism and rehabs was part of your journey to be able to do
Mm.
what you do now.
Mhm.
It was part of your mental strength and
Mhm.
experience, so that you can speak authentically, and people will listen to you because you've been
Mhm.
through it. You're not
Yeah.
reading this in a book. You've lived
Right.
this. What you thought was a horrific decade was really your training grounds for what you're doing, what you're about to do,
Yeah.
right?" And I went,
Yeah.
"Okay, okay." And then it said, "You're doing it wrong. You need to only work with mindful people. You need to honor this as sacred medicine only. You need to do it
Mhm.
not for the money. You need to
Mhm.
not do it to get people high. You need to support people that are healing people. You need to help
Mm.
people that are struggling like you.
Yeah.
And this is what you'll be helping humanity with. And it showed me a montage of death and destruction and suicide and disease and war. And she said, this is what you'll be helping humanity with. And you are the guy to run with the ball.
Oh,
And I said,
that's
I'm a
beautiful.
director. And she said, shut up, just do it. And I said, so I came out of that. I was like, what? And I opened up, I had thrown everything into this tent in the backyard. I was ready to burn it. I swear. I was so traumatized with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I started kind of playing around with it. Like, how do I start up again? I don't have any
Mhm.
money. I guess it's just me. Like, and 2 weeks later, I think it was under 2 weeks, the pandemic hit. She was showing me the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of my film work that I had lined up, literally starting the next month, evaporated in a day. So
Wow.
all the work I had lined up for a year was gone. And
Mhm.
I said, I'm starting to get it. Now I listen to source, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I said, okay, I got nothing else to do.
Right.
I kicked the doors open. I started studying again. I knew, half of it. I
Mhm.
just started doing it myself for probably a year with a little help here and there. I started really small. I started studying every day, every night, every day. I just worked with the genetics. I figured it out. I slowly acquired equipment. People gave me stuff. People helped me. We started leading. We lead by attraction, not promotion.
Mhm.
And now
Mhm.
we have a whole beautiful operation of healers, right?
That's
We
beautiful.
support. We support healers. We support facilitators. We also obviously we have consumer products for mental health, but now I'm on podcasts. This is probably one of 50 or 60 I've done. I keep doing them. I'm speaking at all kinds of events. We do ceremonies here that I help guide addicts with. I just came back from Orlando doing some.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
so we're not running out of people that want us, right? But we're doing it with the most authentic, organic medicine that is out there. We
Mhm.
do zero synthesizing, we do zero extraction. Everything is natural.
Mm.
Our genetics have taken us a long time to get that are strong, but
Mm.
we were gifted genetics that came directly from Maria Sabina in the Oaxaca, Mexico,
Okay.
one of the original shamans from the 50s. But we have some of the natural mushrooms as they grow in nature that are not modified, right?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
They're not nearly as powerful. We
They
have the
need to be.
powerhouse ones. We have, yeah, but they're natural,
Right,
right?
that's what I mean, it's like, you don't like, that's the I think the thing with when you make them more powerful, the gift of the full medicine isn't there, like,
Yep,
because it's
100%.
yeah, it's like
100%.
it's the journey,
100%.
you don't I don't ever I mean, that's the I haven't, but if I'd had any medicine, it would be the mushrooms, and it's because of the energy they carry.
That's right. That's right. And this is exactly why we're called frequency.
Yeah.
Because along the way, I sold some an ounce to a shaman friend of mine, and I was struggling with contamination and everything. And he called me a couple days later and he goes, dude, me and my buddy went deep on your medicine. We each did 6 grams. Independently, we saw you in our journeys, both of us separately. And we felt your fear. We saw the contamination. We saw your struggle, felt your struggle. He goes, your energy and vibration is in the medicine. Now, how would they have known that independently?
I know, but it's so true. Like, I don't know if you've ever read. Well, we're gonna have to do another podcast. Um, Bringing Cedars.
I've
It's
heard about it. I haven't read it
okay.
yet.
Well, one of the things is if you put a seed under your tongue before you plant it will pick up on your DNA and what your
Yes,
DNA needs from that plant.
and grow it for you.
That's how incredibly intelligent plants
Right.
are,
Yeah.
and we're
This
beginning.
is a psychoactive fungus,
Right.
so it's even more intelligent. Yes.
Right. So, like, we're beginning to understand, like, how like, we're the idiots here. Like, the
Yes.
plant life, the animal life, they're the ones that already know what's up.
right,
we're the ones that are beginning to learn it.
right.
And I love that you had 2 separate people tune into your frequency and realize that was affecting the plant, because it makes so much sense. How we show up affects what we do in the world, and to clear that out, like, and be on that journey of, like, remembering who we are is so freaking powerful,
Yep.
because the more light we let in, the more light we just share with the world. And
And
I
that's actually scientific.
yeah.
So I actually, in that moment, I'm listening and I go, okay, I get it. So that was 4 years ago. So we built a sound chamber and
Mm,
now our mushrooms are grown in frequency. That's why the name of the company's Frequency.
I love that.
And we're under the ground
Mhm,
because the ground, Mother Earth has a resonance of healing, right?
mhm.
So they're underground, and we have a sound chamber that plays crystal bowls, that plays all the frequencies of chakras at a volume, and they're happy. And
Oh,
we have
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful medicine that is 1000% organic as it could be in nature. So
Mhm,
we do have the higher power genetics
mhm,
that people want because they are powerful, but we grow them in our environment, which is a big difference. And then we also mix them with the natural genetics of Mother Earth to
mm,
create the experience in our healing ceremonies. So we actually branded a tea that is designed for facilitators. It gives you an ayahuasca type journey with
mm,
these two medicines, right?
mhm,
Combined. So we have lots and lots and lots of data that we've collected, and but anyway, everything is, the substrate. Like if there's anything in the substrate, any fertilizers, metals, it gets inside the the mushroom body, and the vibration, of course, of the room. I mean, it makes a huge difference.
oh, yeah,
So
I love
that's our mission. We just came
that.
back. We just came back from SciCon, which was one of the beginning stages of psychedelic conferences. We had a booth there. I was a keynote speaker there, and by
Awesome.
far we were the most popular booth. People were like, "What? What are you doing?"
Yeah,
And nobody else was doing it. We saw all the competition. They're ex-marijuana guys. They're just growing it for potency. They're just growing it for mass consumption. They're
right.
synthesizing it, putting it
Yeah.
gummies, extracting it. Everything we're not doing, right?
Mhm,
So we're growing with intention. We're keeping it as
mhm,
medicine. And now
mhm,
we have hundreds, if not thousands, of customers that are healing with
mm.
this medicine with guidance. We
Yeah,
teach,
yeah.
we
Oh,
have
yeah, that's
training,
so
we
important.
have training programs. We have a
Mhm,
YouTube channel. We're aligning with training companies and facilities that have online accreditation programs
yeah.
to people to become facilitators. I speak with
Mhm,
people personally. We're working with USC on a couple psilocybin research programs. So the people that we're rubbing elbows with are the scientists, are the people in the seat of real change in the legal world. And we don't want it to be decriminalized and be the wild, wild west. We want
right.
this to be understood. We want it
Mhm,
to be served with reverence, and we
mhm.
want to honor the medicine. And that's one of our main jobs, is to protect it from
Yeah.
big pharma and
Mm,
synthesizing and stuff, and use
yeah.
it as it was intended for
Mhm.
tens of not hundreds of thousands of years. So that's our main,
I love that.
that's it kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah.
um
And
yeah.
I'm getting a question coming in is, are you seeing, like, related to this, like, you went to this conference, do you think it's because the shift in consciousness that more people are, like, looking to do that deep inner work?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, stand by a second, let me just make
Mhm.
sure. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
um okay, good, I got a little time.
Okay, good.
I just bought some time. Okay. um yeah, so all right, here's what's really happening.
Okay.
um I don't know how you are on past, predictions and things of that nature.
I personally am pretty, up on a whole bunch of stuff, but my listeners may not
Okay,
be.
and this was part of my talk at um, SciCon.
Okay.
And since I study Kundalini yoga, they've
Mhm.
been talking about this forever. It's been predicted for
Mhm.
tens of thousands of years. It's the Aquarian age, right?
Oh, I am
So
Aquarian, so I'm excited.
yeah. So, just as humans have these zodiac signs that are driven by the moon every 28 days, planet Earth and the solar system also have theirs, and their planet Earth's is 2100 years, and it goes through cycles, and they go in reverse. We
Mhm.
go, Pisces, Aquarian. I'm sorry, Aquarian, Pisces. In that order. It's flipped with the planet, right? So we started the Piscean age was started right around the birth of Christ,
Mhm.
and the Piscean age was the age of masculinity. It was
Mhm.
very male dominated. It was
Mhm.
control. It was secrets. It was competition. It was sacrifice. It was the
Mhm.
age of thinking. It was the age of reading. It was um, basically, obviously religion and government. They created the systems of all secrets. There was zero transparency. We never knew what really was going on. It was all control, right? And when what our parents bring us up the same way their parents brought up, because that's the way it is, right?
Right. Right.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of the four monkey experiment. Have you heard this
Mhm.
experiment?
Mhm.
Well, maybe I'll say it to your viewers, but
Yeah.
it's the experiment where they have four monkeys in a cage with a step ladder in it and a banana at the top, right? Same experiment. Okay. The first monkey runs up the step ladder. Just before he grabs the banana, it's everybody's doused with freezing cold water, right? So the monkey freaks out. So everybody suffers from this one monkey's action, right?
Mhm.
So they
Mhm.
take that monkey out, pull him out, put a new monkey in. Now there's three monkeys that have witnessed this event. The second monkey starts to go up the ladder. Sure enough, the same thing happens. Cold water comes out. He doesn't get the banana, and everyone suffers for this monkey's action. So they pull
Mhm.
him out, put a new monkey in. Now only two monkeys know what's really happening, right? So the third monkey goes to go up the ladder, and the last monkey tackles him and beats him up, right? So he doesn't
Yeah.
go up the ladder, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then they pull him out. The fourth one, he does the same, and then they tackle him. Anyway, so now you have four new monkeys, and nobody knows why they don't go up the ladder,
Right.
right? But nobody goes up the ladder,
Right, right,
right?
right.
So that's kind of how we are. Like, do we really
Mhm.
know why we're fighting a 2,000-year-old war? Do we
Right.
really know why we do things the way we do? We do
Mhm.
it because that's the way it is, right? So
Right.
psychedelics. Okay, so let me back up. So right around, and this is somewhat up for discussion, but this Piscean era of male dominance, sacrifice, secrets, and stuff was shattered obviously by the internet, right? And that was
Mhm.
predicted. Information in the Aquarian age, which started somewhere around 91 or even in the 60s, it's like I said up for discussion, but
Right.
we started pushing back, right? Because the Aquarian age is the age of information is available to everyone, right? The internet,
Mhm.
transparency, the truth. Like we could not be pushing back like we are if we didn't have information,
Right.
right? Because otherwise we would still be doing what our
Right.
generations before were doing,
Right.
right?
Right.
So psychedelics and also the age of Aquarius is feminine. It's
Mhm.
healing, right? And it's also collaborative. We work
Mhm.
together as a
Yep.
collective, as a tribe. We don't
Yep.
compete.
Right.
People in the tribe don't necessarily really compete. Each person in the tribe does their job so that the
Right.
tribe as a whole will survive.
Mhm.
Well, so is the human collective,
Mhm.
right? Each person, in my opinion, has a reason that we're here. There's a
Mhm.
reason. There's something we're doing that we're supposed to do for the collective so that the collective of humanity survives as best it can to reproduce the genetics and the highest DNA and intelligence possible so the next generation is smarter and stronger, right? So that's nature. That's really, you don't see
Mhm.
the a sick wolf breeding with a sick wolf, right? They won't do it. It's only the
Right.
healthy ones, right? So that the
Right. Right.
genetics become stronger, right?
Mhm.
So it's the Aquarian age is one of transparency. The Aquarian age is one of collaboration. The
Mhm.
Aquarian age is one of feminine. That's very obvious, right now with what's happening, and it's the age of healing, right? So we are wounded, right? So my talk actually at SciCon was, I was like, there's no coincidence that psychedelics have shown up again in this information of transparency,
Yeah.
right? And there's no coincidence that AI is here, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that wild? That we have this psychedelic way of gathering knowledge, and we also have this ones and zeros supercomputer that's quantum physics and quantum computing that's getting information faster than any human could ever do it. But they're very different,
Oh, yeah.
right? So
Yep.
here's where they're different, and this is Piscean, right?
Mhm.
So there is uh, businesses that are Piscean concepts are like the concept of blockchain is an
Mhm.
Aquarian age business concept,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
There's no central authority. There's nobody in
Right,
charge. It's a
right.
collaboration. It's a collaborative effort of trust that
Mhm,
we can
mhm.
operate on that. That's
Right,
Aquarian. That's Aquarian age, right?
right,
Uber, Airbnb, poor guys, they started Aquarian,
right,
right? But now the resistance, the Pisceans are trying to pull them back into being taxed and having these
right,
licenses and doing so. They're sort of getting back sucked back into the matrix because we're
right.
in the age of this transition. So there's a lot of friction,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of
Okay.
friction.
Okay. So then we get into the intelligence area, right? So the Piscean was the age of thinking.
Mhm,
Piscean it was the age of what we call knowledge, and knowledge is it's something usually you read and you learn, but it's
mhm.
not experiential necessarily.
Right, right.
So psychedelics and the Aquarian age is the age of knowing. It's the
Mhm,
age of experiential. So
mm,
when you have a psychedelic journey, all pistons are firing. Your heart
right.
chakra, your mind, your skin, you get goosebumps. You're feeling it. You're
Mhm.
experiencing the knowledge. You can't describe a psychedelic journey in language because language is it's BS. And
Right,
mathematics, there is none, right? Because
right,
mathematics, language are they're simply characteristics of man trying to measure or quantify something so we can somehow communicate and understand the infinite, which we'll never be able to do,
right.
right? And that's why you can't describe psychedelics in language, right?
Mhm,
So, but
mhm.
then there's AI, which is just data, right?
Right.
So I think this is really the because when we do a deep psychedelic journey, this is my opinion, we're tapping in to the infinite wisdom
Mhm,
and consciousness of the universe,
mhm,
which is
mhm.
absolutely the biggest supercomputer hard drive that there
Right,
ever could be of all ideas, of all events, past, present, and future that will ever have happened. All information has always been there, and we tap into it when humanity is ready for it.
mhm.
And then you have a machine going down a different train track, right?
Mhm.
So, like Dolores Cannon says, there's two trains that have already left the station, and they're
Yeah.
slightly getting farther and farther and farther apart,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So it's going to be harder and harder to jump from one train to the other, right? So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think we're at a revolution because I think pretty much even the normal person, I shouldn't say normal, but people that don't have the awareness that we have. I was just traveling through Florida. I'm not picking on the Southeast in any way, but
I grew up in
there,
Connecticut, just to the east, just to
but
the
when you
east.
watch TV, well, just watch TV and all the stuff. It's just like
Yeah.
once, like I don't watch anything, and then I go into a sports bar and I'm like, what the hell? It's
Ooh,
just so
yeah.
it's so insanely obvious what's happening,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
distract the Romans did it, distract the people with their alcohol, their drugs, their entertainment, while they're over there doing up to no good,
Yeah,
because they don't want people to have purpose, right?
right, which is crazy because
So,
we all do.
but it doesn't, if we have purpose, we don't make money for them, right? A
I know,
happy,
which is
a
crazy, but it's
happy,
like, I've
yeah.
said before, like, yes, I'm working in this construct of having to receive a financial exchange for what I do. I would help animals regardless of money because it's my passion. It's like, how can I like, yes, I have to play in this field right now. But if an animal looks at me and is like, hey, could you help a guy out? I'm like, oh, you got it, buddy. I'm there. Because like it doesn't matter to me. Like that matrix of like having my worth tied to the old system doesn't work.
Well, yeah, because you're also talking about value,
Mm-hmm.
right? What is, well, I guess worth, right? So
Right.
we're the same. We're the same. Obviously, we have to operate in the matrix
Right.
to survive, because energy, I mean, money is energy, right?
Right.
We don't need it. How much shit do you need, right? So
Right. Exactly.
where I'm going with that is if you have no purpose, you're a boat floating in the ocean with no rudder or
Mhm.
engine, right?
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
perfect for capitalism, because you're
Right.
going to fill your day with sitting around watching a paid movie. You're going to go to a restaurant and spend money. You're going to go to a theater. You're going to go to whatever entertainment, spend money, spend money, spend money, spend money. And you wake up the next morning and you have really no reason to get out of bed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So psychedelics help you find out, Viktor Frankl, man's meaning. What are you here for? What is your meaning? What is your purpose? And
Mm-hmm.
once we find that out, everything else falls in. You
Oh
jump out
yeah.
of bed in the morning. And that's what the Buddhists call being in flow. You're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to swim upstream. You're not pushing the rock up a hill.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually floating downstream, because you're doing what your God put you on this earth to do for the collective of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the money will follow, because the universe wants you to survive so that you can continue your purpose. And we're living
Mm-hmm.
proof of it. I don't know where the next whatever's coming in, but it always comes,
Right.
right? But we
Right.
have to be aware. We have to listen to be able to be, and part of awareness is cleaning the vessel from the drugs and the alcohol and the noise, and get into the quiet and let the mind clear, and then you become aware. And when you're aware, and I'm telling you, the slightest little thing, I'll just notice something different about it, and I go, I need to talk to that person. I don't know why, but I just need to talk to
Mm-hmm.
him. And I
Mm-hmm.
talked to him, and sure enough, that was the next move, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but if I was, had a couple of drinks in me and I was watching a football game, I wouldn't, right?
Right.
I'm
Right.
unaware,
Right.
right? So these little things, these little decisions of, should I, when the phone rings, should I go out and, party with a bunch of, those questionable characters? Oh, it's just one night, it won't hurt. Or should I stay on my yogic practice and read some inspirational things? And that one little decision will drive today. And then,
Yep.
of course, that'll drive tomorrow. And then that'll end
Mm-hmm.
up driving your week.
Right.
And then, right? So
Right.
it's the little things. And that goes back to awareness,
Yep.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's how we've gotten every single one of our employees found me. It goes, I don't know, I'm supposed to meet you, or we're supposed to do something. That's
Mm-hmm.
what people tell me. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what you do, but there's something there that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out that we need them as part
Right.
of the team, right?
Right.
So then that's power. And every single person here on the team has struggled with some sort of addiction, some sort of huge trauma, and psychoactive plants have helped them
Mhm.
come out of it. So every single person can speak with authenticity, can speak from their heart, can speak with truth. And that is vital to us so
Mm-hmm.
that we can do that. And it is also
Yeah.
vital to the success of the company. You know what I mean? Sorry.
That's okay.
We got background noise here.
That's
Okay,
okay.
yeah. Hang on a second. Atlas, stop it. Sorry, somebody showed up at the neighbors. All right, can hang on. I'm trying to mute it.
Oh,
Anyway, I think it's over. So,
yeah. Okay.
so sorry about that.
That's okay. Oh, no, now you're muted.
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't want everybody hear
Okay.
me
Okay.
telling the dog to be quiet. So anyway, so yeah, I got to jump, but
Okay. Well, I'm going to
that
ask you the
was
final question. How do people,
a long ramble.
okay. Going to ask you, how can people find you?
Yes. We want the right people, not the people with
Yes. Yeah.
arrest warrants or what. We're frequencycaps.com is our website. And under that, you'll see icons for Instagram, YouTube. We have a educational Instagram
Awesome.
uh, that educates. We want to build. We build through awareness, not really. We we have some products, but we're mostly about educating. We're mostly about experience. And I travel around and I've spoke to veterans. I was in Atlanta speaking
Mm,
to actually police officers that are traumatized, and
awesome.
two of them, their sons, both of these guys I met, had committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is like super
Yeah.
super serious stuff, and we're
Yeah.
we're here, and that's what we're here to do. Is it's basically suicide prevention in a way, and finding your power, but not through real experience and real authenticity, not
Mhm, mhm.
floaty running around. I'm
Right.
not that person. I'm one
Right.
of truth. I'm pretty hard when it comes to it, but that's where the lessons are. That's where the healing is, to be honest with ourselves and call
Mm,
ourselves out on our nonsense, and then to pass that to others, right?
mhm.
So frequencycaps.com. And like I said, I'll take you to Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel since I'm a filmmaker of some other content. And then we're always building on that. We have affiliate programs, so we sell through mostly word of mouth. So, like I said earlier, we tend to lead by attraction, not promotion, because we know our product is the best possible because of how we operate, and we're
Mhm,
not we're not an assembly line. We're here to create
mhm.
medicine for people, and it's safe. And I think people really want to know where their
Yeah.
teaching, their
Yeah.
healing psychoactive plants are coming from.
Yeah,
It's a very
definitely.
important thing because it can be very dangerous when not used in the proper setting and having the proper medicine. So
Mhm.
that's what we're about. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, for all of the work in the world you're doing, and for spreading your light. I am so
Well,
grateful
thanks for
for this
having us, and
conversation.
taking a chance with us, and allowing us to speak to your viewers and pass it along. And if
Yeah.
have look at have my emails on there, so you can email directly to me. It's frequencycaps at gmail. If you want any questions or whatever. So we're
Thank
here
you.
for you. Yep.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Mark. Bye.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Bye.